Let me first start by sharing a little bit about us for those of you who are joining us for the first time. We are Change At All, and as you can guess from our name, we're a boutique consulting firm that specializes in change and transformation. We partner and work with clients in various industries from all over the world. Today's session is a little special because not only does it feature a very timely topic, but we have two experts in human resources, Alan Sumano from IHH Healthcare, as well as our very own Priya Rao, who manages Bridget Hall and Board Matchup. Let's find out a little bit more about our guest speakers now. Okay. Alan has had 22 years of experience as a digital transformation and business analytics executive, with global roles in different industries and organizations such as IBM, Schneider Electric, and IHH Healthcare, covering 80 hospitals across more than 10 countries, with brands such as Parkway Hospitals, Gleneagles, and Mount Elizabeth. Since 2013, Alan has specialized in the human resources domain, encompassing people analytics and insights, employee experience, HR transformation, rewards, and strategic workforce planning. Alan currently leads the integration of workforce analytics and employee experience solutions to drive organizational transformation and tangible impact, from employee engagement to operational efficiency, but also to surface hidden risks, anticipate market shifts, and uncover opportunities on an ever-changing workforce landscape that impacts the 70K employees across the group. He's also a published IBM Red Book author on its data management series. Wow, let's welcome Alan to the conversation. Hi, Alan. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Hi, Adeline. Pleased to meet you here, and thanks for the invitation. Happy to collaborate.
Yes, of course. So now let's find out about our next expert, and I am proud to call her my good friend. Priya is Chief Operating Officer at Bridget Hall and Board Matchup, two pioneering platforms redefining the flex executive economy. At Bridget Hall, she drives seamless global talent solutions, connecting organizations with vetted freelance experts across change, HR, digital, and transformation projects. And now, as COO of Board Matchup, Priya helps revolutionize boardroom hiring by matching exceptional independent directors, advisors, and C-suite executives with companies ready to embrace agile leadership. A passionate advocate for the open talent economy, Priya consults with organizations on talent transformation, educates on the rise of gig and fractional leadership, and guides experienced executives navigating meaningful portfolio careers. Her strategic approach and stakeholder-led mindset empower businesses and talent alike in a rapidly evolving workforce landscape. Certainly very relevant to our conversation today. Hello, Priya. Welcome to this side of the panel today.
Hey, hi, Adeline. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it's great to be here, being part of the team, and now being talking on this topic, which I am deeply passionate about, and not just passionate about, but this is something that I do. This is something that I've been working on. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks.
It's great to have you both here. So now let's get started. The future of work is no longer a distant horizon. It is actually unfolding before us and already reshaping our organizations, our people, and the way we lead. From AI-driven decision-making to purpose-driven culture to the reinvention of employee experience, the need for adaptation has never been more urgent. And in today's conversations on change, we will go beyond speculation as we deep dive into envisioning our work future now. Together with Priya and Alan, whom you've learned more about earlier, we'll forecast HR trends shaping the next 5 years ahead and unpack the signals of change that are already at the surface. And so whether you are a decision maker or simply curious about what's next, we will examine what is shaping tomorrow's working world right now. But let's start by setting up the scene for our audience. Why is it important to talk about the future of work now, rather than 5 years from now? Why can't organizations afford to wait? How about ladies first? Priya, would you like to take that first question?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And thanks for the introduction and setting the stage, Adeline. And I feel it's very important. And the question is why we have to talk about it now is because it's no longer a distant reality. I think future of work has arrived, and this is what is happening now. And I'll kind of say in terms of the different topics that we have been talking about, AI integration or remote working or agile teams, which is no longer a future strategy. I think a lot of organizations are now adopting that, and that's why I feel it's important to talk about these topics now. Based on my experience, I will just maybe say, like in my role, I talk to a lot of C-suite leaders, and the folks when I used to talk to them, maybe a year or 2 years ago, they would talk about AI integration or working on the topics like AI as more like an experiment that we are innovating, we are working, we are kind of talking about these. But when I talk to the leadership now, they are in a rush that we don't want to stay behind, we want to do it. So the future is changing so fast that something that we were looking at it as an experiment couple of like a year ago is now has become like, I want to catch up with it, I want to kind of know what's happening, I don't want to stand behind. And I think that's why it's important to talk about it now.
Yes, I totally agree. That's why this topic is really so timely. Alan, anything to add to that? Because
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
Priya talked about AI and you work so closely with tech and analytics.
I think is what we see is not a wave of one element coming towards us. Basically, there is a big convergence of topics that is moving the landscape, and we have more awareness that the landscape organization compared to other organizations is going to be very different. And I think there is awareness today. We can have a better picture, even if it's a chaotic one. Okay, first of all, I think that's creating this anxiety, this fear of missing out that we see coming from boards to saying, are we losing opportunities here? Are we getting comfortable? Are we not taking advantage here? Or we should react to avoid that we lose competitive advantage tomorrow? There is always this perception at management level that maybe we're not anticipating as we should. And that creates this, right? Of course, we have different types of organizations that move towards that. Some that in a legitimate way, they want to anticipate and innovate. Others don't want to be behind. But the reality is that everybody is trying to find what is the new edge that we can have, either to be competitive or to not disappear, let's say, or lose momentum market. So what we see today is this concept of future of work has become a little bit abstract. I would say it's a little bit of a mosaic of pieces that are moving, like the analytics part, for sure. We have more information. We have come with better solutions. Technology has evolved. Before coming to the AI component that just disrupted everything. Collaboration also, we were working differently in that way. We learned our lesson from the work from home experience and the back to office in a drastic way. So I think some organizations already reflect that, and then they're redesigning what they want to do and how they want to do it. Of course, now AI comes here, and that's why I mentioned this is a convergence. So now we have new elements. We can design a new way of doing things, and we can take decisions. I think for me, that's what future of work means today. On top of what we want to privilege in our organization, is it skills, tenure, careers, that before we didn't do that, right? So I think it's a good reflection moment. What will come to each organization, we don't know, right? It's going to be a very different journey for each of them, but those elements will play, right? That's what I see now as the more, let's say, pressing elements that are bringing all this discussion together. What it means for all of us is clearly it needs to happen. This is not something that we can just think that we can sit down and keep operating as usual. Generally speaking, this makes the organization development a mandatory item to have in the discussion. So I don't think that organizations can just expect that it will continue, because they will be disrupted if they don't do anything, right? So it's going to be the market, is going to be some player in your own industry. Yeah, so that's going to come from outside. I will say that that's how I will anchor this starting point, and maybe going back to previous comment, why this is becoming so important for some relevant actors in my organization, for example. Mhm.
Thank you for your perspective, Alan. And you know, it's true. Now the phrase future of work is so widely used. So you've shared that you are looking at it through the lens of analytics and sort of like as you said, convergence of elements. Curious, what lens would you be viewing this future of work now, Priya? And perhaps you can share, is there an example of a shift in the workplace, a recent shift in the workplace that you think could also be a sign of what's to come?
Yeah, certainly. I think AI is just an example to, how people were talking about it, and now it has become more like a need or necessity. But like Alan said, there are several areas which are shaping future of work. And where I see the shift happening from where I am or the field in which I work is there's a major shift in how people perceive their career options. I'm not just talking about people who are stepping into the career now. I'm also talking about people who have been there, who are the corporate leaders, who have been seasoned executives. So all of them are not just looking at, I would say it's not a linear career option that people are looking at now, and they're looking at it more like a lattice career. So it's not that you just move upwards, because that was the trend few years ago, but now it's the growth is everywhere. Either you move across industry, or people are open to jump from one role to another role, or to that matter, even portfolio careers is something that is becoming more and more common now. And again, like I said, it's not Gen Z, it's not just the millennials who are bringing this trend. I'm seeing more and more executives or seasoned leaders who come and say that I'm done with the corporate role, I'm done with the corner office, and now I want to do something which I'm truly passionate about. I want to try a different role, or I want to use that knowledge and maybe work in a startup or help an purpose-driven organization. I think that's the shift. Major shift that I'm seeing from the people, or the talent side. And I'll just share the other side from the organizations also. I see there is a change because, and again, this is the change that also driving organizations and vice versa. So from organization side also, they are the ones who are no longer looking at fixed roles. So several progressive organizations are looking at just what is the talent I need today? What's the problem I need to solve, and just hiring those. So hiring of more project-based executives rather than the traditional roles. So that's the shift that I'm seeing in the organization's side. And I think this is something that will drive the future of work.
Absolutely. And actually, it leads me to my next question. So thanks for that. But I would like to also hear Alan's perspective on this before we go into the next question. Alan, anything to add? What recent shift have you seen that you think is a preview of what to expect next?
Maybe I will expand a little bit what I've seen or witnessed on a couple of examples that Priya brought or topics is, for sure, we see companies investing or trying to expand more to provide this space for their employees so they can fulfill those needs and they don't need to go elsewhere. In the 2000s, we saw Silicon Valley offering all the ecosystem for employees to live in their office, right? And you have laundry, you have dinner, all of these benefits, daycare, they want you there. So clearly, they want to keep people engaged. So now we see, for example, the return of the volunteering platforms where employees can go and fulfill those space with some company sponsorship and structure to actually help and serve, because there is a purpose-driven organization and community. It doesn't need to be going in a different direction of what we see that the company can provide, and the company wants to keep that. It's a good way to keep everybody engaged. So I'm not saying this should be A, B, C, or D, the model. I'm saying companies try to help employees to manage that without leaving behind their own work, right? Then employees also, when they see that, becomes attractive. So we see that as well. Other thing that we see is when they want to explore an upskill or explore other area of work, we see this open talent market becoming more and more relevant for companies to take advantage of skills. Meaning that I come from computer science. But if I want to get involved in procurement, I can volunteer 10% of my work to start getting exposure and maybe shadowing someone. And then I go to my internal job portal and I can see that maybe the procurement manager is looking for someone that can help, and preferably with some information management skills. So that's a match. Then I can start training to upskill myself with someone that is an expert. And the company, of course, gets benefits that the ecosystem is there. So we see this more and more, those elements that companies are trying to provide alternatives for employees. I think it's healthy because you can manage your own transition. There are portable skills. And I will want to wrap up with that is portable skills and then upskilling. There is a lot of discussions on skills economy, but there is a way to manage that, right? So I think those elements are the ones that I see more. Of course, everything that came with discovering that work from home, hybrid, we see more, let's say, more dynamics around how we manage shifts and work. This is something that some industries can do, others is not possible for them. But with those three, I think we can see how the ecosystem has changed significantly and how it represents opportunities for some organizations and how some of them, if they don't take them, maybe they will lose attractiveness in front of the talent, right? So yeah, that will be my
I
2 cents on
really,
that.
Yes.
yeah, this is exactly what we are seeing, that organizations are trying to kind of fulfill all the aspirations of talent. And you said it absolutely. I think what we are seeing is change from just role-based hiring to skill-based hiring, and I kind of feel good that it also gets resonated, and you're seeing the same trend. So that's what we see from organizations' point of view, and which I feel is exactly going in the right direction. I That's what I think is future of work.
For sure. And both of you actually mentioned, more typical or conventional, traditional work models that used to exist before. And, we talked about the shifts that are happening now that are sort of like a preview of what's to come. And I was going to ask, what strategic shifts must organizations make, now to continue being competitive and relevant. But I think you both answered my question that a lot of organizations are already making those necessary shifts in order to stay competitive by looking at being open-minded about newer work models. But, we can't talk about the future of work without looking at future generations. So, Priya, you were talking about Gen Z in the workforce, and with Gen Z not only entering the workforce, but some of them are actually properly in the workforce, and Gen Alpha is right there on the horizon. How are expectations evolving around purpose, leadership, and belonging? Perhaps Priya, would you like to take that?
Okay, I'll go again first then. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times there's this perspective that Gen Zs are they are not focused, or they don't want to do job. But I feel it in a different way. It's not that they are not focused. I think they want to diversify, or they want to do different things, and that's why I think there's this need of even though they are doing a job, they would want to do something which is purpose driven. So like Alan said, a lot of organizations are kind of trying to add purpose driven as the value proposition or employee proposition. So they are also like moving towards that, and that kind of attracts Gen Z, that the organization is doing something for the environment, the organization is purpose driven. So I think that's a big motivation factor for Gen Zs. And at the same time, something they're looking for something where they can kind of do different things at the same time. So I have very interesting Gen Zs, or late millennials that I have spoken to in last few years, and some of them are from engineering, that they're engineer qualified, but they have become content creators. So nothing related to what they were doing, and then again they want to do something else in future. So they don't know whether they want to say that. So I look at it more like being diversifying or trying different things rather than they don't know what they want to do. There are examples of developers. So rather than applying for a corporate role, they are opening their startups. There are people who have maybe management graduates, but they want to kind of work in art. So I think these kind of examples are more popular, and I think organizations will need to kind of adopt their policies to embrace all these different Gen Z demands or talent, attract those talent for them. So that's how I look at it.
I think that's very well put, Priya, and it's a very good reflection of how agile we really have to be to stay relevant and competitive. Alan, anything to share?
No, I think it's very interesting that you mentioned Priya, because what we've seen, I work with the employee engagement service, the whole employee experience, and we see it, of course, in a population as large as diverse as ours. But when we see general research, we notice that the experience and expectations are shifting. And this is one of the main angles that Qualtrics and other employee experience companies are highlighting recently, saying what the companies are offering versus what the employees are expecting maybe it's not as calibrated as before. So we knew what we wanted, what they wanted, but maybe it's time to revisit that promise to ensure that we're delivering it. Otherwise, what happens? Of course, there is a miscalibration there where someone is not happy in this equation. So I think this is something to revisit. For us, the usual suspect is the new employees won't find the place as they were expecting. Maybe there is a disenchantment here, but we are realizing it's not the 20 to 25-year-olds. It's people that have 3-4 years in the company. It means that they came to us generally, and this is the global studies that there are out there. And then we discovered that after 3-4 years, something's happening, that there is a little bit of a cliff where the engagement drops. Why is that? Well, because we said they gave the company the opportunity 1 or 2 years to reflect and change. They were expecting something will be moving, and it didn't happen. Or, for example, when it comes to trust in the manager, it's not trust in the manager per se, it's the capability of your manager to make changes for the employees. So then that tells you about more systematic issues, right? So it's not that the managers are not well trained, it's basically, do they have the avenues and the impact to make the changes? It's a good reflection because maybe you're not empowering properly. So we see those type of angles that are bringing areas that we need to study, otherwise we can't do that. Other one that we saw, it caught my attention, is we, on all this upskilling and reskilling economy that we have, we are putting the burden, if I can call it, in the employee, because you need to self-train yourself. Everything is digital, you need to go and find the training, and you create your own path. That's great. However, it's coming to a cost. What employees are saying is like, okay, but then I'm doing that training in overtime, in weekends, because now I have a quota. Now I'm not enjoying the learning journey. I have so many trainings to do. So then maybe you want to balance, right? So basically that means that the learning is not going to be an incentive for me. It's going to become another part of my work that maybe I will need to do in overtime. And you know what? Don't expect that my mental well-being is going to be great. You will see a decline on those markers, right? So you see, then that means that we need to, again, going back to experience versus expectations, to redo the contract, right? So all of that, this new dynamic that we have cannot work with the previous contract and handshake that we have. That's how I will frame all of this. Needs to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, because a lot of it is all about alignment, right? It's about, as you said, trying to come to a middle point with the expectations as well as the actual engagement and experience.
Yeah, I would like to just add something, and I really completely resonate with the point, Alan, you said experience versus expectations. And this is what we see. For example, since you spoke about Gen Z, Adeline, so some of them would want to pursue different career options. I mean, they So we recently were hiring for a client, and it was a communications kind of executive role, and the person is also they writes their own blogs and kind of does some freelancing on completely unrelated topic, but they wanted to continue doing that, continue writing on their own website. And the organization, and this is what the executive said, that I can take up the role, but I'll continue to write on this different topic as a freelancer, which I've been doing always. And the organization didn't have the policy. They said, no, that's not the policy. You won't be able to like publish anything on your own if you're working in this organization. Everything goes out from the organization. So the policy is still in a way not ready, but they are ready to kind of hire the executive who's more future focused, but the organization structure doesn't, or the policy doesn't kind of go well with that. And that's the kind of gap again with the expectations versus experience is what I'm seeing. So yeah, I think that's what that needs to be changed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've heard mentioned so many times just in the short span of this conversation, AI and technology, and it's just the rising permeation of AI in the workforce, the increasing permeation of AI. And you have brought up also, organizations really using emerging tech in their day-to-day life more and more. I just wanted to talk a little bit more on that. So talking about future focused, what does it really mean to be a future focused future of work that's actually already happening now, beyond just hiring or headcount strategies, beyond just, enhancing your HR tech stacks. For those of you who don't know, HR tech stack is like, think of it as a digital toolbox, like your data analytics software and tools. Beyond those things, what does it really look like? Alan, would you like to go this time?
Yeah, well, we can see that, of course, work dynamics will change. I think this is something that is a fact, is more on how it will evolve. We are what I consider is a critical adoption moment when we see companies going full on it. We have a couple of examples. Shopify, the CEO announced, we have a hiring freeze, and I'm not hiring anyone until you show me how this work cannot be done with AI, or how AI is going to complement your work. It's a very bold statement, and I think the intention on that is to make the organization reflect that you need to integrate technology. Of course, I don't have insights on how it was taken inside of the organization, but we can see that they want to move forward because they are developing technology that helps them to automate and simplify some processes. So I think they want to create this concept or integrate this in the mind of people, that this needs to be part of our how we can survive and thrive in the future, right? Because they're seeing this as a competitive edge. Other companies, like financial services, went full on board and say, we're going to not hire anyone, we're going to replace that. And 6 months later, they're rolling back and they say, hey, guess what? Looks like we really need to hire people. So you can see this pilot, right? These companies can do that because they're in forefront of technology. Other companies, we need to wait, and we have to wait, right? You cannot trust your processes and automate them just out of the blue and expect that this is going to bring results, because we have compliance requests, we have certain gatekeepers that we need to control, and we have to. I mean, it's not going to happen in a vacuum. But what we see is that means that managers will have to consider how workflows, the balance or the organization needs to account with certain scale up with AI. Meaning some of the solutions that we have will bring that out of the box, which is a tool that I can have. Other processes we can delegate to them, right? Agentic AI is going to help to have that, and maybe we'll interact with other agents, resolving the last mile steps that we have in some processes. And that's making people reflect like how you integrate in the workforce, right? So some of the most advanced discussions that I've seen recently, they're saying like, okay, so IT might become the HR for agentic AI, right? Meaning that you will need someone that will help to manage that and curate the content, integrate, defining how they will interact. Clearly needs governance. There are some team designs that are out there already that consider having some agentic AI as part of the team. This is not a process resolver or a task. It's as part of the team that will take care of certain activities. Now, of course, with a companion, human companion that is going to curate and use as a tool, but it's not a resource. It's basically becoming part of the flow and the ecosystem. So that makes me think, right, in what capacity we want to integrate. I was discussing with some of the IBM folks. They say, well, we have all the legal documents that you can actually review and integrate in your process, and then all the recommendations that you do will follow the policies that your organization has. So that's great, right? Some companies are already using for that review and processing of documents that are very heavy, that require lots of reading. So I think the message here is to reflect that it's going to work in different areas, especially when personalization and going through different documents is needed. I think those are very low-hanging fruits that are out there. And we will see more examples now, but you can see how it's becoming a part of how we think the organization needs to be designed, what areas we need to do. And it's not the traditional, just give me a summary of the meetings. I think we passed that stage, even if we can use it again. But it's how we automate and orchestrate the work that we do, how we personalize, how we respond to multiple permutations that we have in front of me. That's the part that we need. The human part or layer to calibrate, to apply sense is still there. Meaning, but that means that we need to understand the process very well, right? Which part you can delegate, which part you can delegate. And if you think about it, it's the shared service discussion all over again. So at some point, some countries were saying like, what services I can delegate and send to the call center, outsource other ones. So I think this is a good area to start, how you can redesign your work. I'm not going to say it's going to be the same everywhere, but this is an idea, an analogy that we can use so we can understand how to start or where.
Thanks for that, Alan. Really, it really resonates with me as well. I like what you're saying, and I think it is all about what you said as well as like a convergence of elements, as what you said before. It's really a convergence of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, AI, coming together and just making things work somehow. So we did talk about shifts in thinking, whether it's happened before or it's happening now in the organizational setting, when it comes to organizational strategy. But because we are a change and transformation organization, I'm very curious to know your thoughts on this. Somehow there are still barriers in organizations when it comes to transformation. So what are some of the barriers can you share that you've come across when it comes to organizational transformation? And would you have any ideas on how to overcome these barriers? Maybe Priya, you can take this one.
Yeah. So I also like take it from the previous question that, what are the workforce strategies that organizations should look at, or what are the barriers that they can look at and then kind of try to address it. And I feel it's different for different organizations. So what is a solution for one organization may not be for the other one, and where they are in terms of future of work is a continuum, where they are standing right now versus where they want to go. So I think understanding that becomes most important. That's the first point I would like to make. And second is what it's preventing. So those organizations who want to make this change, but it's preventing them or they are not able to make it, is also because a lot of organizations still have the short-term focus because they are target-driven. There are quarterly targets every month. They need to kind of work through that. People are always overworked, overloaded. So it's always like, there are 5 people in the team and they'll always say we are doing the work for 6. So there's always this struggle in teams. And then how on top of that you can kind of implement or adopt different strategies. So I think that's always been a question. So I feel it's not about adding something new, it's integrating in your work. That if organizations start looking at it from that point of view and then That's how I think it will work in solving the problem. So it's a change. We were saying change is constant, but I think now we can say disruption is constant. So this is going to happen. So we can't wait that, okay, this wave will go and then we'll set everything. We will change our organization structure, and then we will kind of redesign the jobs. I think nobody will now wait for that. It will be too late if organizations wait for that. So I feel the best way for them is to move from efficiency to adaptability. So it doesn't mean they don't focus on efficiency, but focusing on productivity and efficiency means that all the aspects are same, like your resources and your input is same, and then you're trying to increase the output. If that's the focus, then they won't be able to focus on adaptability. So for future of work, I think the focus needs to be shifted from how can we adopt, how can we make our organization structure agile, how can we build skill-based teams, so that we can kind of use, rather than saying, oh, we want to hire people, rather than saying we have this problem and how to solve this problem. So whether, like Alan said, it could be outsourcing, it could be using the fractional talent, it could be redesigning the work. So it could be anything. So rather than just asking those questions, first asking that what would be the right solution is what I would say.
I really like that a lot, and it's another answer that really resonates with me. And Priya, I really like what you said about it being a continuum, that it doesn't stop. It is a continuous process. And I see that our chat box is especially lively today. It has a lot of activity with questions and comments. So I just wanted to bring forward our Q&A section a little earlier today. So I just have one last question for both of you to answer, just to end the proper part of the conversation on a future forward note before we open up the Q&A session properly. We were already talking about this, but I'd just like to know if you could distill it into one bold idea or mindset that you believe that every organization should adopt. For instance, Priya, you talked a little bit about adaptability. So what is one bold idea or mindset that you think that every organization should adopt in order to prepare for the future of work that's already happening now? Maybe Alan, you'd like to go first this time.
Well, I think going back to the adaptability and what are the blocking points, right? I think because clearly you want to move and do something different, but you repeat the same formulas as before. I will just put my money where my talk is, and I will say, let's dedicate proper time to this transformation. Is something that organizations and maybe human beings, we fail to do, right? We want to do something, but we really don't put the time. It's not going to happen. I see more and more leaders that say, okay, we're going to make transformation, but we're going to dedicate half a day per week only to transformation discussion and efforts, which is, if you start adding up how much time is that, then you can see traction in a few months, right? Because now it's a permanent topic in the agenda. We also see it as part of the performance targets for some of the executives. Then now it's tangible. And I think sometimes we don't want to use this approach, the carrot and stick, but in reality it needs to be part of a driver in the organization. That's why I think, Priya, you were mentioning sometimes it's just not happening. What is going to be the driver, and this to move people from the operational mindset that we have, that the organization is bringing them as well. So then that starts making a reflection, hey, we might need to have a team that is composed with these two hats, and they have priorities and focus in both elements. So for me, it sounds very basic, but it's there. So that will be the first part. Just commit to it. You need to do it. It won't happen in isolation. And that's why in many companies, I can imagine it's not, I'm not the only one that has seen this. Everybody in the audience has seen this, is that every 3-4 years, a company tries to reinvent the wheel, and we come back to the same conclusions because the problem has not disappeared and we haven't tackled it properly. That's where I will stop for that part. The second one I will say is we need to embed, and I know Agile is being overused at this point in life, but this iterative approach and mindset, we need to be comfortable with that. I was sharing in a forum maybe 3 weeks ago, and I said something that people approached to me later to ask me. to say, I said, look, from 100% of the pilots the projects that I launch, 60 don't move forward. And I'm very comfortable with that number because I know my pilots, the projects, I know why they didn't work because we have this iteration. The second one maybe worked, and then the ones that move forward, I think were quite successful. But here we are in Asia, and then of course sometimes we don't talk about failure, right? So someone approached me and say, "Hey, Alan," in a good way, in a respectful way. But what I heard was like, "Are you comfortable sharing that your success ratio is 40%?" I said, "Yes, because actually, if I review what is happening outside, sometimes it's 10%. It's just that we don't talk about it. We maximize the gains, but we don't talk about the learnings." And I think organizations need to have that in a space where they can say, "Hey, why this didn't work?" in an open, candid, respectful discussion. So if you have these two elements, you allocate time to transformation, and then you talk about what has not worked and how you build over that. I think the agile concept and iterations, minimum viable product, you will see movement, right? And then at least you can, this is a scientific method, right? Even if you move to other place, you don't allow that the next person coming after you repeats the same mistakes and uses the same resources. I mean, we need to be mindful of that, and doesn't need to be me. Maybe my next leader is going to be doing that. Good for you, but at least I have peace of mind that I didn't leave this in the same stage, and there are learnings taken. I think that those elements, I see them more and more. This is the long answer to the short question. Sorry
Not at
for that,
all.
but I wanted to connect the
great.
dots, you know?
No, I was gonna say I really like your answer. And again, it's a lot of points that really resonate. And I think it's not actually a basic idea, like you said, at all, because some people really might not actually realize it. So thank you for that. It's very, very good advice. And I like what you said about it being an iterative process. It's very much like what Priya was saying about it being a continuum. Priya, what is your one bold idea that organizations should adopt in order to be work future ready now?
Yeah, so I mean, the most important thing I will say is when organizations look at it like a project, that this is what we have to tackle, I think that kind of becomes a issue or a problem, because a lot of times they say that, oh, we need to reinvent, we need to kind of reorganize ourselves. So change the org structure, change some roles, change our policies. And then the mindset is that once we do all this change, then that's it, then we are done, and then we'll work on the same environment for next few years. And it never happens. Like, it's like by the time you make that changes, there's a new wave coming in. So the mindset that tackling it like a project, that once this is done, we are all set for future, is what I feel that needs to be changed. And it should be looked at as a continuous learning culture, or a culture of continuously adapting. I think that's where the mindset shift is what I feel is required, because this is what even I'm seeing, like in the hiring world. We are kind of looking at, we're working with some clients for a long time, and the kind of roles, when they are replacement roles, 80% of the roles have been redesigned when they hire a replacement. So the person that is hired is significantly, his or her role is significantly different than the predecessor, because it's continuously evolving. So they can't kind of think that, oh, now the team is set and now we are set for future. So the organizations need to design or set themselves up in such a way that they are continuously agile and they're ready to adapt at any time, rather than thinking that, oh, it's done and now we are ready for future. So I think that kind of learning mindset is what I feel is required.
Yeah, make it more as a trait, as a value, how this is how we live, and rather than now we are going to do this, right? Because then the culture eats a strategy for breakfast, right? I think this is a famous phrase by Drucker that it explains very well that needs to be resilient. Otherwise, we'll come back to the old habits. I think this is human nature. I agree with that. I think let's just have it. I will just add on this. You need certain leadership styles and traits that you need to develop. People need to be comfortable talking about this, to live it, and then understand that there will be misses and goals here. So I think you need certain culture there, and you need to create it. So yeah, in this high performance mindset and let's say style environment that we always try to promote, how all of this forms part of that. So sometimes there are conflicts there. You want to balance and explain people that it's okay, right? If something goes in that direction, you want to have you be directionally correct rather than have a continuous or jump or leaps. I agree with you, Priya. I think you mentioned it very well.
Absolutely. And now with that being said, thank you, Priya, for your answer. Again, a lot of resonance there. And now the Q&A session is officially open. The floor is officially open. And actually, we already had some questions coming in from the beginning of our conversation. So I'll go right to the start of it. This question is from Karina. I love that name, by the way. Careers being less linear, can part of it not be explained also by one, longer life expectancy and hence longer work decades, and two, expectations to work beyond 60 years. I guess it's the more traditional retirement age of 60 years. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I think that we're starting off with a really strong two-parter question. Who would like to take it?
I mean, first of all, thanks, Karina. Very happy to see you here. And me and Karina have been talking about some of these topics and, transitions and how people are opting out of linear careers. I think we've had those discussions before. So thanks. And I would, of course, like to hear your views as well. But I think it's both sides. And you make interesting point that life expectancy is one thing. Increased financial security, I feel, is also another thing, because a lot of executives that I meet, like, because they are at a career stage where the financial burden is no longer there, and that's why they have this freedom of choosing what they want to do. So a lot of them have come out from C-suite roles, and they are not in a rush to take another role. They are just, because financially the economy has become in such a way that they're financially stable, and that's why they are willing to wait for the right role. They are willing to do something that they are passionate about. And I think both the life expectancy as well as their the purpose-driven work that they want to do and the financial security that they have kind of drives it. But yeah, feel free to add, Karina, if there's anything else you want to add to that.
No, thank you. Just wanted to hear your thoughts, because we are working in the same space but from different angles. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm seeing this, but what are you guys seeing? So thank you for that additional. Indeed, variability in the economy, but yet when you are C-suite, there's some I would not say luxury, but stability in the financial. So you can actually think, what do I want to do and not what do I need to do? So very interesting. Thank you, Priya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karina, for your question, and thank you, Priya, for your answer. Now let's move on to the next question. Anu's question is, in an increasingly dynamic job market, portable skills, oh, this is what we've been talking about, have become more critical than ever. Could you share your insights on what you believe are the most valuable portable skills today, and how professionals can effectively showcase or apply them when transitioning across industries or roles? Perhaps Alan would like to take this one now.
Well, I think, as usual, the response is depends, but it depends on the business industry that you have. I think the first part is we need to recognize that each job family will have it. I will say job family not to encase in the job architecture discussion, but let's say by trade, by group. Clearly, for example, when it comes to, I work in a company, it's healthcare, we have hospitals, and of course, we are patient and customer oriented, right? Clearly, you need to have that trade, serve purpose. You need to have that empathy to have it. If not, it's going to be very difficult for you to enjoy this job and actually to work at the level that we are expecting, right? Now, there are technical and portable skills that we have, but if I can, let's say, divide in the back office work. So we want people that has the capability to learn, they are curious, and those are traits that I see in people that are very useful to adopt skills later. I think the message is those portable skills, the capacity to abstract problems, to create and propose solutions is something we need to have. My main take on this is there needs to be a formal effort to identify them. It's very underestimated, and we think like, okay, because you know how to, let's say, work in finance, that will make you a good data analyst. Maybe yes or no, because maybe you are not looking for the right information in the right place. You become very transactional, where you need to provide a high-level analysis. But the reality is they exist. What my take on that is they need to be guided, right? Singapore, for example, something that surprised me when I arrived in Singapore and started working and bringing people in the analytics space is there is a model to bring people from other practices that they have not been in technology, and they ask you, they offer you to integrate them in the workforce, right? This is people in mid-career. Basically, they work with you, you train them. Of course, you look for this type of analytical capability. They can identify that, they have storytelling, they can provide a summary, they can provide a crisp message. Then that you can train on the technical side, right? Or in the other side, you can train someone technical to bring to the HR side, as long as they can have this idea to connect the dots and develop that. So I don't want to say that is one specific example here. It's more like you need to have a framework for that. It's not going to happen in isolation. You need to know where you need to do it. And more of those, that's going back to the open talent market comment that I was mentioning earlier. You need to have the space for this, to be trained in the job and to test if you actually have them or not. Because awareness is very important. We think that we are here, but maybe the gap is a little bit different. But maybe I can close that, right? And some people that is very expert in the technical side, we tend to think that maybe because I'm here I'm in a very proficient level, and it took me 20 years, that doesn't mean that the next generation cannot close that gap in 3. I need to also understand that, and I can help to train. So for me, it's more about the portable skills require a framework, an environment, and the appetite for them. Yeah, regardless of the industry, function, or where you are.
That's a really great answer, Alan. Thanks for that.
Yeah, agree with you, Alan. Maybe Adeline, can I add something?
Yes,
First
please.
of all,
Yes.
Anu, thanks for joining and for contributing in the discussion. Where I see from, I'll just put a short answer because I've also looked at it from the generic point of view of how portable skills are changing from past till now. Is before, I mean, few years ago, I've always worked in the talent acquisition space. In last, I don't know, it's been like 20 years I've been working in this space. So before there were like functional skills, of course, which any jobs when hired companies needed those functional skills, or if they are software roles, then they needed those kind of tech skills. But then there was a wave of, also human aspect to that. So there were a lot of psychological test assessment centers, personality tests that were added that, along with your functional expertise, you also need to have this leadership or human related skills. So I think it got added. And I feel now if you're looking at a portable skill set, then I feel these two things are important. And the third, which is now getting added, is the digital savviness or tech savviness is the third skill. Because be it HR leader, be it any other functional leader, do you understand technology, how savvy you are with AI? So I think that's the third skill set which has got added to the general, like what organizations are looking at. Or from the skill point of view, if I'm functionally HR, I have the human skills, but do I also have digital skills? So everybody has to be on their toes to kind of now adopt to digital. It's no longer that IT will manage that or the digital transformation team will manage that. I think everybody needs that one skill set. So I think it's the list, this one skill has got added to the portable skills set.
If I can encompass that part, I think is the T-shaped model that we have, right? So I need to be generalist enough to understand different areas with my vertical, and then how I can move it. So digital is of course right there. And if you remember in the past, we were saying, well, we used to put in our CVs, this is gonna say more about my age, but I used to say that I was proficient in Excel. I had to call it out. Now it's given for granted, right? I think, Priya, going back to your comment, those are becoming elements that are there. We are just expecting them to be. So I think those are the skills that I can use in different areas of my work. There are the core ones already, right? So what is my capability to learn and use new technology? Maybe that's more, I'm self-service. Sorry, I use self-service. That's a skill, right? Because that means that I can connect, regardless of the platform that you put me in front tomorrow, I can work in that environment. Maybe that's a skill, right? Adaptability to digital. Yeah.
Thanks for that. And we have about 5 minutes left. So I think we have time for one more quick question and answer. This next question is very related to what we were just talking about, but it is more about the tech side of things. So I think I'll direct it to Alan. So Pushkaraj says, I'm a tech consultant. I would like to ask you, what do you see that would act as a catalyst for companies which are looking at AI implementations and digital transformations, only from an expense point of view?
I think I'm not AI expert. I think I'm more in the user side. I work in digital, and I try to find what the offers of my digital partners bring. I don't want them to reinvent something that is there. I just want to ensure that they can help me to augment my work. This is something I try to do today. I know that all of those skills, they won't be built in-house, let's say. So for me, that's what I'm looking for today, because my business is not to resolve something like research, right? I don't need to find something specific. That's more healthcare pharma, right? For me, it's how can I make the process that I have better in order to provide a better experience to our patients. Yeah. So whatever I can do in that area, fine. So I'm going to be looking on that. But I have other colleagues that are really, really into research, and they are trying to find, they need to be more hands-on. They need to be part more of the journey on the AI deployment. You see, so I think what we will see is that we will be using it at different levels and areas. That for me will be the focus that the companies will put. What we don't want to do is to work in the area where we shouldn't, right? I don't need to develop a large language model for my company because the platforms that I'm interacting with, they're already bringing that. Instead, I want to participate in training those models, ensure that they are accurate enough, that they don't have hallucinations, that they provide me good contextual information. That's what I'm working on. For example, we have an out-of-the-box AI deployment that we have in one of our platforms, and we can use it, and it's okay. I will say it's okay. But we discovered that if we train it, the accuracy elevates 20%. So we're working to train the model and to provide good feedback to it. Those are areas we select that because I cannot choose topics that is going to be working on. So I prefer to refine what I can do. I don't know if I answered the question with this, but to provide a little bit of my experience, what is the priority for us as of now. Yeah.
I think you did. Thanks so much, Alan. And Priya, anything to add about this?
No, I think I completely resonate, and that's what we also discussed through in last 1 hour is that it's not only AI implementation. I think looking at it from the holistic point of view, is organization ready for that? Where do we stand on that continuum? And how is the integration? So I think these are all the aspects that organizations should look at rather than just jumping on AI implementation first.
Absolutely. I totally agree that it's all about taking a holistic approach. And with that, with 1 minute to go, I just wanted to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on yet another session of Conversations on Change. Please give another round of applause to our expert guests, Priya and Alan. Thank you so much, Priya and Alan, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Maria. It's really good to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Thank
Hope
you.
you'll join us on other sessions.
I will. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
That's so great. And so for those who would like to actually revisit our conversation like Maria and everyone else, please do visit our Change at All pages on Facebook and LinkedIn, because we will have posts of the recording. Do like and follow us if you haven't already done so, in order to get more updates. And in the meantime,
excuse me.
yes.
Hi there, good afternoon. Just attended the session and it was really life-changing and empowering. I've attended one of the finest session economics, was just kind of getting into it. these days people talk a lot about artificial intelligence, but when it comes to ma'am, when she explained about HR, I believe that it's not just, the human resource which has taken the world by storm and by toss, but I feel that even the artificial intelligence is there. Just to take away from my side, human resource is something where you connect minds, you connect connections, and that makes the impact. And every one of us here, either professionals, they make an enduring impact. So that's just a key takeaway from my side. I love each and every part of your session.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us again.
Sure,
You said that you
definitely,
were,
definitely.
actually, I
All
do
right.
recognize you from our last session. So thank you for
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
to join us once
That's
more.
right. That's right. It was the month of June. That's right. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you. Goodbye.
Have a great Thursday evening, everyone, and do have a
Yeah,
good
sure.
weekend ahead.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Adeline.
much,
Thank you, Priya,
everyone.
and everybody.
Bye.
No,
Bye.
see you.